Excuse me.
This is so going to be the opening of the show.
This is like how my Twitch feeds are like, just me trying to figure shit out as I'm going.
Hey, everybody, it's Matt. Wrestling with Whiskey is back. Another episode of Straight Shooting, and I think for the first time, maybe not the first time, but definitely one of the few times my guest actually, I know for a fact, actually kind of does enjoy whiskey, so that'll be fun. Also, one of the only people whose wrestling gimmick, persona, name, and everything actually fits who they are, like in real life, which is cool. It's not all a gimmick. And most importantly, one of the only people who going forward for the rest of his life can use the name that he had on TV anywhere he damn well pleases. Because it's a shoot, brother. We have Tony Nese. Tony, welcome to the show. How's it going, man?
It's going great, Matt. Thank you. Thanks for having me. This is exciting because, yes, like you said, I love whiskey. I'm not as knowledgeable as you are. I'm sure you remember the plenty of times I would come up to you and I'd be like, "Oh, did you hear about this or that?" And you're like, yeah, that one's trash."
Was I that much of a dick about it?
No, you weren't a dick about it. It's just how it comes off to me. Like all excited. I remember telling you once that I watched like this full Scotch documentary.
Oh, yeah.
I thought I knew everything about Scotch. And then I started naming brands and stuff or whatever. And you were just kind of like,
I am a dick.
It's good though. I need that, That's how you learn. And then I start to realize, oh, okay, I got to go a different route. I don't just got to look at what's on the shelves at the store and everything.
Yeah. And I just realized I'm like, I totally had the wrong, this will make the blooper reel. I totally had the wrong view on in Zoom for the recording. It's okay. We're fixed now. Ladies and gentlemen, you'll have to deal with it. It's about 30 seconds worth of content. Yeah, no, I've tried to struggle really hard against it. I never wanted to be, because the whole reason I started this whole like YouTube and Instagram and everything was that like I was new to whiskey and I'm like, I don't want to be a snob. And I will say 99% of the time, I'd like to think that I'm not. But sometimes when you get into something, eventually it kind of does. It does.
No. In no way were you being a snob at all. You were actually super cool about it. It's just when I was all excited or whatever, and then I got like, I thought I had cool information, but I don't now.
It's okay. You'll get there, kid. Yeah. Don't you worry about it.
I'll do that with everyone. I would do that with like video game stuff with Woods. I'll be like, hey, about this or whatever, and they'll just be like, oh yeah, that's cool. I did that like 10 years ago.
Dude, have you heard of Mario Kart? Oh my God. It's this with new what? Game. Oh, no. I was just
I was like, geez, see, that's how gullible I am. Jesus.
Oh, this is gonna be good. Yeah, this is gonna be fun.
I didn't even drink whiskey yet.
Right? We're just getting started. No, so like tell me first of all, like how you've been like this past year with the crazy with the freaking Thunderdome stuff, the Capitol Wrestling Center stuff. Like, how was it for you being part of the whole 205 crew and like doing this entire year of like empty arena shows and all that stuff? How has this year been?
Well, so I guess a joking way to say it is a lot of us on 205 would always laugh and be like, well, now everyone's got to wrestle like we've been wrestling for the last 5 years. But no, in seriousness though, it was tough. Like it's definitely it's tough because not because you're just, you got to wrestle with no crowd and all that stuff, but it's like that's why we got into this, right? That's like one of the main reasons. Not necessarily why you get into it, but like as soon as you get that first taste of a crowd reaction, it's like that's the greatest feeling in the world, and that's all we pretty much work for at that point on, and we just keep trying to get more and more reaction, all that stuff. So when you take all of that out, you're kind of just like it's weird at first, and you're kind of like out there going like is like, man, is this even? What am I doing right now? I'm just beating the hell out of myself. I'm to nobody, to crickets, and then the company's always changing every week. They're changing, sometimes they put in a noise for us so that we have some sort of noise in our head or whatever. And then sometimes they just leave it dead silent and stuff. And you're just like, oh man. Um, so it was definitely weird, and it was just a lot of adjusting and everything. But I don't know. You started like, I guess doing it, I started to really respect the guys who were, who are out there, like, making a name for themselves, like during this time. That was, cause it's tough. Yeah, it was, thank God it's over.
Yeah, no kidding, right? And I mean,
Yeah,
and even on like, uh, just tell me a little bit, like on a personal level. I mean, back home,
yeah,
you've got young kids and everything like that. I can't imagine trying to get them masked up now to go do anything and stuff was probably a little bit of a handful.
yeah. It was, it's luckily, so my youngest is only a year old, so for him, he didn't have to do a mask, and
Sure.
two, he luckily he didn't really know what was going on. The only thing I would say out of that was like facial expressions. Like if we would go out somewhere, we're in Florida, so we would go to Disney if we could, all masked up and everything, and say like a parade or someone's going by and everything. My son would kind of just look around confused because everyone's in masks. So then I'd have to like pull down my mask and smile to let him know, like, yeah, we're having a good
Yeah.
time. And then, because like, their reaction is off of our usually reading our face and everything. That was always like my concern with him. I was like, oh, I don't want him to, lose that. So,
Yeah.
but and with my daughter was actually, she was good with it. We never had to like struggle with her. Like we told her the situation, we told her what she had to do, and then she was on board from the start. So that was very good for us. And honestly, we kind of stayed hermits for a while. Like I said, we would go out here and there, but very, very rarely. We kind of stayed hermits. We live in a nice neighborhood that's got a big lake and everything. So we would just, every day we just kind of, after our workouts and lunch or whatever, we'd go for like a family walk around and all that stuff, and just kind of kill time as much as possible, and just enjoy life without having to do all the different things that we had to do.
Yeah.
Much as possible.
Absolutely.
I
Yeah.
mean, how
No.
was it for you up in, because it's pretty much, you did it a lot during the winter, right?
I
Like,
mean,
so it's probably
yeah.
tough to get out. Like, you really kind of just stuck in the house, right?
I mean, yeah, even so the craziest part was at the very, very beginning. So I mean, I live in downtown Chicago.
Mm.
So the craziest part was like right after the initial I was still there. I came to do 205 for like we were there for like 2 or 3 weeks doing it with us there. And then they kind of sent everybody home. And I remember I was in Florida when I got like hey, governor's gonna like lock everything down. And
Yeah,
I'm just being like, am I going to be able to fly back home kind of thing? Or am I going to be living in the airport Hilton for the next, 3 to 6 months or whatever? I didn't know. Then I came back and I remember walking the dog and just being, my neighborhood thankfully is relatively quiet for being downtown, but still it was just like, I can usually hear the hum of like the highway, like, which is only a couple blocks away. And like, that was like, pretty deathly quiet. And then I remember again taking the walk like we have like a little Brit overpass over the highway, and it's like 8 o'clock on like a Tuesday morning, right? Prime rush hour, and it's
yeah, that's crazy.
like
Yeah,
one car in either direction in the matter of like 2 minutes. It's like, oh my, this is so eerie. It was, nah, I wouldn't call it ghost town it, but it was as close as a city like Chicago was gonna get. And then
yeah, that's weird. Especially like a lot of those cities where you guys were obviously way more shut down than ours, than Orlando was and
sure,
everything. Um, so yeah, we're kind of in a quiet area anyway, so I didn't get too much of that. But yeah, like that's another thing too. I was fortunate enough to where I was living in the state that the company decided to film shows. So
yeah.
that I lucked out. Like for you guys who had to travel every like that's tough. And and that fear of everyone thinking that they were going to be stuck in Florida for a very long time.
Yeah, no, it was. I remember it was absolute. Again, for the first couple of months and all that, it was absolute like just chaos. Like, what's going to happen? I remember even when they had that first PC show. I don't know
Yeah.
if you guys, 'cause we were with the announce department. We were in Orlando like because we were doing like a meeting with the announcers,
Uh-huh.
and everyone was getting ready to go to I think it was like Detroit or something like that, and there was like this thing like, all right, guys, I'll see you guys in Detroit. Wait, nope, just got a text like we're not. Everything you're shutting Detroit down. Everything's moving to Orlando. Okay. Then like an hour later, nope, Vince wants the show to go forward. We're going to Detroit. Like, wait,
Yep.
nope, we're going to Orlando. I don't know if you guys as talent were getting the same like back and forth emails. Were
Uh,
you?
yeah, I think we were. It's hard for me to remember now
Yeah, no kidding.
that. Our yeah, but I do remember. Man, yeah, I don't remember all the text messages and stuff like them changing it back and forth. I'm not sure. I think because 205 is kind of very last minute.
Sure.
um, so I think that probably all those decisions were made before they were even like, oh yeah, let's tell the cruiserweights.
Oh yeah, they're here.
So,
Whoops.
but the one thing is, I don't know if you remember the first ever pandemic PC show, the first ever match is a cruiserweight match. So we were
That's
the first
right.
ones to ever do it. It is actually that match that was it was almost like 205 versus NXT. Do you remember that?
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah. So that's actually the first match. So it wasn't the first match to air on television that way,
Right.
but it was the first match ever recorded in that arena.
And I remember it being able to, what in the playback, hearing myself doing commentary at ringside, but
Yeah,
not through the microphone,
yeah,
just through
yeah.
like the camera mic picked it up, and I hear myself being like, "Oh my god!"
Yeah. I remember like that was a now things are gonna come to me as you say it, but like that was a weird thing too, is just hearing you guys perfectly the whole
Yeah,
time. And like it's funny because I wanted to use it once, but I the company's very like, oh, let's not, point out the obvious. But I wanted to do a sneak attack one time on the show where commentary is like, Nese is right behind him, and then he just turns around like, what?
that
And I'm like,
would
oh shit.
yeah, that would
Yeah.
have been great. Take advantage of the the unique scenario that you have there. Why not? Right?
Yeah. But like anytime I would pitch something like that, they're like, "Oh no!" Like anyone you pitch it to, they're like, "I wouldn't even ask them. They're gonna freak out about that."
It's
So
slightly different than normal, so we
yeah,
can't have
exactly.
that.
Oh, you're taking what you have and making it entertaining? No, don't do that.
No, no, no. We have to be as normal and by rote as possible. That was also the one Cena's sitting like 10 feet away, like
Yes. He was our
hanging out
audience of
watching.
one.
Yeah.
He was our audience of one, and so that's one thing, man. He's probably one of the coolest, greatest guys that I've ever met. Because when we first started, Cena was still on the road pretty much full time, and he he would be the first segment on SmackDown, and then he'd stay the whole show, just sit at the chair and watch at the monitor, and he would sit all through 205, watch everyone's match. Even if you were the first match, you'd come in the back and you'd go up to him, and if it wasn't a match like at the moment, he'll turn and talk to you. But if another match is happening, he's like, hold on, let me just watch this one and then I'll talk to you. Like he's like, and this is, no one even asked him to do this, he just did it. And like that, one of the coolest things ever, man. I'll always respect him for that. And he would just give us like amazing advice all the time. So smart.
Dude, John is one of those guys where I'm like, it almost makes me angry and like just how like he's like he's legit and everything. He like him,
Yeah.
I swear, like I was lucky enough to meet him too, but him and The Rock are like
Mhm.
these two guys where it's like the true there. They bust their ass. They work so hard. They're doing 8 million different things, but then they also still take the time to like. He did a lot of that stuff with me too. Like when I
Yeah.
wasn't booked, he'd sit down with me like in the arena, be like, "What? What's going on? What's character? Have you talked to this guy? What do you got going on in your head? What's this?" And I'm like, "Don't you have like a main event tonight going leading into like SummerSlam? What are you talking to Aiden fucking English over here?" And but he did like, and he
Yep.
cared and stuff like that. And meanwhile, yeah, he's kicking ass. So like guys like that who are just and like is a cool dude while doing it. Like is nice,
Yeah.
is kind, respectful. Still one of the boys in a way too. And yeah, I
We,
can't say enough nice things.
yeah, we were in Atlanta once, and we ended up staying at the hotel after TV. That at that moment they were shooting blockers. Were you there? Do you remember that or no?
No, I don't.
So we were still getting TV hotel, and I think you were probably doing your own, the regular ones.
Yeah.
So we got to stay in the TV hotel in Atlanta, and they were filming the prom night scene for Blockers. I don't know if you've seen the movie.
Yeah.
And so he was there, and it was me, Brian Kendrick. It was, usually, as always, the cruiserweights. We always, after every show, we all get together, we go to the bar or whatever, and we're hanging out there, and they're taking a break between shoots. He just comes right over us, and he's like, "Hey guys, can I hang out with you?" And then he just buys all our rounds and everything. Like, wow, this is incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very, very, very unpretentious and everything. It's one thing I've always loved about him. Well, you know what? That's actually good. Let's raise a glass to John. Let's go into our first sample here.
Okay,
Pour
here we
pour your
go.
first little sample. I'm gonna pour a little something too.
Yeah, right.
Um, yeah, I remember playing. So I just did an indie show actually in a couple months ago. One of the few kind of like spot shows that did run, and I was in Fort Wayne, Indiana, and they were running at the same building that like we would run for house shows for WWE in Fort Wayne. And so I walked into the backstage. I was like, "Oh, I remember this area." And I looked over in the corner, and there's this old piano there for performances or whatever. And I'm like, I would mess around on the piano. If I saw it, and Cena came over, and we were like messing around and talking about like piano, because at the time, of course, he didn't have enough to do. He was teaching himself or getting taught lessons on classical piano, in addition to Mandarin Chinese
Yeah,
and main
yeah,
eventing WrestleMania. But
yeah.
yeah, so. All right, okay, here we go. Here's your first sample.
All right.
Cheers, my friend. Thank you very much for being here. And so, first, of course, though, take a look at it. You find your most pretentious word for copper or amber, and that's the color. Cool. That part's done. And then you give it a little sniff, and you kind of just tell me what you smell.
What do I smell? That's
And again, it doesn't have to be too complicated. Sweet, spicy. There's a ton of alcohol. Is it very light? Is it deep?
so I am smelling that it's got a ton of alcohol. That's what I'm smelling here.
Okay.
It smells strong to me. So I will tell you this, a little disclaimer.
Mhm.
I did unfortunately get COVID.
Okay.
So the
Like,
nostrils aren't perfect.
oh, like recently.
Yeah. No, not recently. So believe it or not, what was it? Pretty much the week of Christmas kind of ruined our Christmas. And
And you just have like lingering kind of.
so I was fortunate enough I literally had a stuffy nose. Like that was it,
Yeah.
right? And then I was fine. But then all of a sudden I started losing the taste, the smell, all that stuff.
Um,
Yeah. And then, so then I didn't have that for a while. And then eventually, as it started coming back, and this has been like a slow process, it's crazy. As it started coming back, I've been like certain things were just tasting like garbage to me and smelling like garbage. Like it's really weird. And I ended up researching it and everything, and they say that that's actually a part of the regenerative process of the cells in the for the I guess there's a gland that um, that you get all your smells and everything too. It sends a signal to your brain, but the when you get COVID, they say it actually attacks those glands. And
oh, okay.
losing their smell. If you lose your smell, you lose your taste. So sometimes I'll smell something and I'm like, am I getting the real smell or am I getting like a weird altered smell or whatever? So that's one
Fair
thing.
enough. Okay. Well, we'll.
But the taste has gotten way better.
Okay.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
hope
yeah.
I hope this helps and doesn't completely destroy it or throw it off.
Yeah. Actually, funny story with the day I found out I wasn't smelling or tasting. I was in my garage working out, and then I was just like, I don't smell anything right now. It's weird. And then I was like, I wonder if I taste. So then I ran in my house and I actually grabbed a bottle of whiskey and I started chugging it.
Oh
Didn't
God.
I didn't taste it. It had no effect on me or anything.
Like even like the alcohol burn,
Not
nothing.
even like that burn and that weird like feeling.
Whoa.
Dangerously like easy to just chug like a thing. It was so weird.
So was
Yeah.
it just did it just could you literally only feel like the texture of liquid and
Yeah,
not
pretty
like no
much.
no
Pretty much.
taste, no
Yeah, yeah.
sensation?
And like I would get like the burn,
Okay.
but other than that, like that was
Wow.
really weird.
That's wild.
Yeah.
Well, hopefully this is a little different.
No, it's way better now. Sorry, I just wanted to
Good.
let you know that if I happen to say,
No.
oh, it smells like peanut butter, and you're like, why?
That's well again. I hope it keeps getting better. Yeah, because I've heard about that, like the long term effects and stuff like that, man. Holy shit. So yeah, try and I don't know if it'll help. Smell it with your mouth open.
Okay.
It helps kind of cycle the olfactory senses and everything.
Okay.
So sweetness, spicy, is it rich? Is it light? Does it remind you of anything?
Trying to think.
I don't care if it's like, oh, sugar smacks cereal. I love notes like that. It doesn't always have to be like cardamom.
I don't even know what any of that is.
You don't know sugar smacks?
No, Sugar Smacks I know.
Oh,
Whatever.
that's what I'm saying.
But let's see. I'm getting a little. Can I taste it now?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Give it a little taste. Sometimes that can even help with the nosing. You get a little bit on your tongue and in your mouth.
Okay, yeah. So I'm getting like a, I don't know if that would be like an oak. I think like an
Okay.
oaky type of taste, like almost like a. Yeah, I'm trying to think.
And
Yeah,
everybody experiences things differently. So oak to you might be
yeah,
different than what oak is to me.
yeah. Okay.
So like when I get something that's old, like especially older things, like if I have a whiskey, especially like bourbons, because bourbons are a new charred oak barrel, so the barrel influence is super super strong, especially as you get older.
Mm.
Whereas like scotches usually use used barrels, so the influence is a little bit less over time.
Yeah, yeah.
So like if I get bourbons that are like 12 years or older, they're much more oaky, and I usually get like, to me it's almost like grape medicine. It's like
Mm.
Robitussin. I get a tiny bit of a note of that.
Yeah. I guess that's what I'm getting. It's kind of like that oak barrel taste.
Okay.
Yeah.
Spices at all?
It's not super spicy to me.
Okay.
Yeah. It actually is very smooth.
Okay. Easy to
Like,
drink.
yeah, very easy to drink.
Do you think
Everyone who watches this is gonna be like, this guy likes whiskey. He doesn't even know how to talk about
Oh, see, but that's not the point.
it.
That's not the point. We're fighting those douchebags. Yeah, douchebags, I'm looking at you. You know who you are.
Yeah, this is actually it's very very light, very smooth, and like I'm usually a on the rocks guy, so
Okay.
like this is one that I would definitely enjoy drinking it neat.
Well, you can have it any way you want. That's one of the things we talk about a lot on this show. You drink the way you want. There's no right or wrong way. So later you want to go and throw a rock in there? Great. You want to pour half a can of Coke in there? That's fine too. You do you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
All right. Well, keep some of that in mind. Keep some of those flavor notes in mind. We'll
All right.
kind of go. We'll start kind of going back and forth, comparing and contrasting as we go
Okay.
along. But before that, I mean, hey, let's while we're talking about it. So you are generally, if you know, you're. Is it? Would you consider whiskey your like liquor of choice if you're going to have a drink or even have a cocktail?
Yeah, yeah, definitely. If I'm out like let's at home, I would just pour some whiskey over a big block of ice,
Yeah.
and then have a cigar or whatever. And then if I'm out, a lot of times, like there's this speakeasy that we like to go to. I'll always get their old fashioned there, and I believe they make their old fashioned with four roses.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah. So, but it's. I mean, I enjoy like a good old fat. I like it when it's a stronger one though. It's very very light in the sweet. The with the no the bitters is all right, but what is it
The sugar.
the sugar. I mean, depends. Like if you go to a place that actually does it right, where they muddle everything, then can't complain about anything. But
Well,
the syrup, that's when it gets a little too sugary.
sure. When people overdo the sugar, but in theory, you shouldn't muddle an old fashioned. You should never muddle an old fashioned.
Really? Okay.
Well, oh no, I mean it depends. If you use a sugar cube, you'll have to because you have to break it down. That's the
Yeah, that's
true
what I was
truth.
picturing. But okay.
Yeah. But no, because I've had big issues with that. I talked about it on my live stream one time. The worst old fashioned I ever had was in an airport bar. Which, no offense to the airport bartenders out there, but I don't think a lot of them are like, I don't know, students of their craft. They're kind of getting it done for those travelers who just want to drink. But I
Yeah.
ordered an old fashioned, and I shit you not, the guy poured whiskey. I think did some bitters. Poured like threw like those bright red maraschino cherries in there, which have no place in an old fashioned. Triple sec, like Grand Marnier.
Yeah.
and then sugar, and then muddled the crap out of the cherries in there. I was like, "What are you doing?" And it was like this weird, fruity, tangy, sweet mess of a
Yeah.
drink. And I was like, "Holy crap!" So, but
Okay.
so that, I mean, when did you come to that realization? Like, yeah, like this is kind of my go-to thing. Not tequila, not vodka as much. It's more this. Like, when did you kind of like figure that out?
For starters, just like any other crazy teenager, you kind of go through your liquors and eventually you go, okay, I can't have vodka anymore. I had a rough night. Like even the smell of vodka makes me nauseous now. And then you go to the next. Like I've had my kicks of everything.
Sure.
And I think my latest of my like I can't do anymore was and this was a while ago though was Jägermeister.
Oh,
Yeah, I had a rough night once. But I believe it or not, it was actually involved a bunch of the cruiserweights and Enzo as well.
why does that not surprise me?
But no, I got also into like a lot of the people that I met when I moved to the town that I live in now. A lot of the guys that I ended up just kind of connecting with because we had kids in the same class, all that stuff. Like they were all, they play golf, they smoke cigars, drink whiskey, and so like and I love playing golf already and all that stuff. I actually, I always have cigars with my brothers and stuff. So I was like, let me jump in the whiskey game too. And that's kind of how. So like when I would talk to you about it with you is kind of around the time that I actually started that I was
Oh,
like, oh,
okay.
actually I enjoy it and everything. So I just and I'm still kind of in the learning process of what exactly, like I can't yet like go there and be like I can't look at other brands that I had never had and go and just read what it is and go, yeah, I would like that. I'm still kind of in the phase of maybe I got to try
Dude,
it 2.0.
nobody can do that unless in like, especially if it's one you don't know, there's no
Yeah.
way you can know. And I don't care what the bottle says. I don't care. There's a lot of people who will tell you like they'll do the old. I'm not gonna do it with that. They'll do like, because you can tell sometimes. Not it's not the description, because that they're gonna fill it with flowery language no matter what. That's marketing. But there are some people in the kind of hobby, because you can kind of decipher where it's from, because not everything is from made by the company that is on the label. Sometimes people source it from others, and so they're like, "Oh, I know where this is from. I'm not buying it," kind of thing, and they get snooty about it. And I get it. I've probably done it on once or twice, but honestly, everybody handles their whisk whether they buy it from someone else. Sometimes they blend it differently and everything. So all this to say, nobody knows that,
Mm.
especially for things they've never had, a brand they've never had. Nobody can judge it on what the label says or where it's from and stuff like that. So yeah, that'll always be the case. You'll always be figuring that out.
Yeah, okay, okay, but yeah, like I said, just ended up being like, oh yeah, I enjoy this way more. Like I don't even, I do enjoy beer and stuff, but even like, I'd rather sit down and just have a nice glass of whiskey than sit there and just keep drinking, cans of beer or whatever.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it's more. I think it's like, as weird as it sounds, the most like relaxing drink.
I get that.
Yeah, yeah. To me, like it's just, I want to sit. Yeah, anytime I want to relax or whatever, like this does that for me.
That's actually that's a really great way of putting it, because I think there's a lot of other things, especially in and it's changing. I can, as someone kind of who's in the community of like spirits in general, look, it's changing for a lot of things, but in the kind of mainstream world, like vodka is still just like mixed in, it's thrown in with Coke. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Tequila is to be shoot, lick, smell, whatever the hell you do with the
yeah,
salt and everything. You know what I mean? Whereas
yeah,
I think it's seen as something. It tastes interesting. It's not just something you throw in with Coke or shoot it back. Like, I mean, it can be, but like all these different kinds are very interesting. So you can sit with it and relax with it, and it is nice to just kind of be mindful with it. That's very true.
yeah.
Now, I don't know how far are you generally like. Have you found bourbon, Scotch,
Mhm.
Japanese? Have you found, because those are all very different types of whiskey. So
Yeah.
do you lean towards something?
I would say more like a what is it, like a rye whiskey.
Okay.
Like not, yeah, not a big Scotch. Like I actually have a bottle here of a Scotch or whatever. But yeah, I'm not a big fan of like the seediness or like the kind of earthy type of flavors
Sure.
that you get a lot of scotches. There are other scotches out there. There's actually one monkey. I know, and these are names that I'll say, and you're like, yeah, but monkey shoulder is one, right?
Monkey Shoulder's a blended
That's a
scotch. Yep.
blended scotch, right? So like a blend that one I enjoy. So I would say maybe I more enjoy the blended ones of those. But what's a good one that like uh Basil Hayden is actually a bottle I have right now at home that one I like a lot. Very good one, very smooth. Um, I don't offhand. What is that one? That one is a. Do you know that
Basil's a
one?
bourbon. Basil's a
Bourbon.
bourbon. Yep.
Oh yeah. So then bourbon would probably be because I would say out of all of them, that's my like. Oh yeah, this one's my favorite one.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, then
Actually, another one. Have you ever had what is it, Devil's River or something like that from Texas?
Texas, yeah.
Yeah, that one's really, really good. There's a actually so by my house there's a cigar bar and they have it there, and that's the one I always get there because I never find it anywhere else.
Yeah, somebody got my dad went on like a trip to Austin or something like that, and he picked that up. He brought that back for me, and
Yep.
I didn't. And this was probably before because right now I again I'm more aware now. Like the Texas bourbon scene is really like and distilling scene is really blowing up.
Yeah.
But this was kind of before I was really super aware of that, and so I was like Texas bourbon, like what that like really like this? Ugh, okay, sure, Dad, I'll try it. And I remember having, I was like, oh, this is actually pretty pleasant. And
Yeah.
again, I've since learned there are some great companies coming out of Texas, and they have one of the biggest like bourbon distilling scenes outside of Kentucky, actually. So yeah, Devil's River is pretty good.
Yeah, I think was it you that maybe you were the one that told me about this, like that kind of the whiskey scene opened up because of the fact that like there was shipping restrictions, right? And then it's kind of been lifted now.
Well,
Am
I
I
mean, there's always shipping. Shipping is always weird in
Yeah.
general because like the people who make this is an archaic system. It's every other form of commerce has gotten rid of anything like nah, I mean like it still exists, but like it's just so strictly controlled because it's alcohol. But this is prohibition era law that has put in like the person who makes it can't sell it right to you,
Mhm.
right? So like Jim Beam, you can't just buy a bottle of Jim Beam from Jim Beam unless you're in the gift shop. Like they can't mail it to you from their warehouse. They have to deal with distributors, and distributors vary by state. Like Illinois has two or three major liquor distributors.
Uh,
So if I'm a store, I have to deal with two or three different, depending on if I want Maker's Mark, I have to go to this distributor. If I want Jim Beam, I have to go to this distributor. If I want Four Roses, I got to go to that distributor. It's a confusing chain of this three-tier system. But no, I think what really opened it up is the idea. It exploded into popularity with Kentucky, especially with bourbon.
yeah.
But when bourbon was named like a United States, this is our like product. It has to be made. A lot of people always assumed like, oh, it's a Kentucky product. But
Mm.
in 1964, Congress said this is a product of the U.S. and it can be made anywhere. And so while the biggest companies are in Kentucky, probably in the past 20 years or so, because bourbon fell out of popularity for a while in like the 80s, 90s. So when it kind of started rearing back into popularity, a lot of new companies opened up and all these other states were like, screw it, we can make it too. So, I mean, Oregon, Washington, Illinois, Wisconsin, Texas. There's Florida. There's one in St. Augustine actually that's making their own
Okay.
bourbon and stuff
I
too.
gotta check that out.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
yeah, that's what's really exploded kind of across the whole country and everything like that.
That's good.
But
And the good thing is like in the US you're getting, whereas like if you get something from like if you get Scotch, something from Scotland, like yes, there's certain parts like there's the Highlands and stuff where their
mhm.
whiskey's a little bit different here and there, but you're kind of just getting that variety. I feel like in the States, all over, you're probably going to get different flavors and different quality out there
Well,
because of
that
how different the how large the country is and how different the soil is all over.
yes, absolutely. So like yeah, and again, we're no all much love to Scotland. I mean, between peated scotches and sherried scotches and all this stuff, there's a variety. But you're right. I mean, the climate over there is pretty temperate, and the
Yep.
terroir or terroir. I don't know. You see, I'm into this, and I don't even know what it's called. The soil and stuff. You said it
Yeah.
is kind of it varies over there too, but that's a much smaller country.
Yeah.
Whereas here, not only the land and everything's so different from Texas to Kentucky to
Yep.
California, but also things like weather, which when you're aging in a warehouse, I mean, Texas summers are 100, in a
Yeah.
warehouse are probably 150, 160 degrees sometimes in there in an enclosed warehouse. And then winters are very mild. Whereas,
Yep.
in the Midwest in Kentucky, Illinois, it's pretty hot and then super, super cold. And you get that kind of aging and everything like that. So it's all that stuff, all the
Yeah.
way up in Washington, it's so moist. That might be more like Scotland. So what happens when you age bourbon in an environment like that? Yeah, there's
Yeah.
so much variety across the U.S. So it's
Yeah.
going to lead to some cool products. And so, well, speaking of which, great point. Let's move on to sample number 2. And we same thing, kind of give it a little nose, see what's different, what's similar, all that good stuff. Yeah, give it a little bit.
Ooh, okay.
'Cause again, spicier, sweeter, more grain, less grain. Does it more alcohol, less alcohol than the first one?
So this one smells like less alcohol to me.
Okay.
Um, and it smells sweeter.
Okay.
Yeah. So we'll see how the taste is now.
Yep.
This one's good too. It's real good stuff.
Good.
Yeah, this one, and it even tastes sweeter.
Okay.
And it actually tastes even smoother than the one before.
Really?
Yeah, like I'm getting less I don't know what you would call that, but it's a lot smoother to swallow down.
Okay. Less burn.
Yeah, less burn.
Less of that alcohol burn. A little bit less.
I don't know if I was missing a technical term there.
Screw the technical terms. Just just say how you feel.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, yeah. Is it like, does it coat the entire mouth, or is it pretty much go like right to the back of the throat, or is it very light?
This one goes more to the right to the back of the throat. The other one felt like it coated the mouth a little more.
Okay.
Yeah.
Overall, maybe like a little bit better than the first one, a little bit less.
Actually, I'm liking this one better.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm liking this one better. It's got more flavor to it to me.
Okay.
Like more
Good to
happening.
know. Good to know.
Yeah, that one's a good one.
Okay.
And I'm getting less of the, I guess, the barrel taste and everything. I'm getting more of like the sweet taste and everything.
Okay.
Yeah.
Less of those oaky notes, less of those
Yeah,
kind of
exactly.
those bitter. Probably a lot of people I think taste oak as almost like a bitterness.
Yeah.
Kind of,
So
right?
I am a fan though at times of the bitterness.
I am too. I
Yeah.
love some oak tannins, absolutely.
Yeah. But I'm also like I'm a dark chocolate, dark coffee, black coffee, like
Sure.
dark beer, all that stuff.
Which, yeah, that me too. Because that was something that totally didn't. I'm trying to think. Even before I really got into whiskey, I think it started happening for me. You said coffee, but for me it was like tea. I wanted to start eliminate. I would like when I was like high school, college. I had to drink my tea with, a lot of milk and then a lot of sugar. That's the old Irish way, but like a ton of it, right? That's the only way. But I knew I wanted to kind of wean myself off that, so I did. I got myself to where I could just drink black tea. And I think that's where it started because I relatively enjoyed the kind of simple and even like the bitter taste of the leaves and everything like that. And I like not having that like coating feeling of sugar in my mouth and everything like that. And I think a lot of people are like that with coffee too.
I feel like people are just masking the coffee or the tea, and it's like, so then why are you drinking it?
Yeah.
Just drink some flavored milk.
Yeah. No, absolutely. 100%. 100%.
But
All right. So you're liking that one?
yeah, that one's good.
Okay. Good. All right. Again, keep some of those flavors, keep some of those sensations in mind as we come to our last one in a little bit. But before we get there, I would be remiss if I didn't talk a little bit more about 205 Live and stuff. because it was such a weird kind of funny little world unto
Yeah.
itself,
Yep.
while also still being like part of kind of connected with the main roster because it was filmed at SmackDown and everything like that. But it was this weird little island. So even before that, so with you don't have to give the whole thing because I know you're going to do about 8 bajillion podcasts in the next 6 months. You don't have to give me like what was the Cruiserweight Classic like. But for
Yeah.
me, I always want to know like more specifically, like as somebody who's been in the locker room, when you're getting that call and you show up for something like that, like the vibe in that locker room, it's a lot of guys who aren't technically signed, but you're here on the WWE production.
Yep.
Was there this feeling of like, all right, this is kind of like everybody's tryout, or was it just like, hey, this is a one-off? We're just gonna go out there, do our shit, maybe get a couple extra bucks on our indie bookings, and be
Yeah.
out of here. What was that? What was that vibe with the boys like?
So I think it was different for everybody because everyone was kind of being told different things.
Mm,
And like for me, I was actually I did a tryout months earlier, and then I was already told that the company is not going to sign me, but they want to use me for the tournament.
okay.
So and then other stuff happened where I ended up not being in the tournament, and then I ended up Mr. Regal was at a an indie show that I was on, and he ended up, he watched the match and everything, and then he ended up talking to me and being like, do you want to be in this tournament? Because I think their whole excuse for why I wasn't in it was they didn't want to eliminate me in the first half.
Okay.
Which I don't know if that doesn't sound like a real excuse to me. That sounds like a hey, we forgot about you, man. We didn't put you on the list.
So we're gonna try to come up with something nice to try to make you
Yeah,
feel better.
yeah. So then after the match, he kind of pulled me aside and he's like, "Hey man, like, do you care like if you were to just get in and lose the first round?" I said, "I don't care. Of course not. Like, why would I care?"
It's a work, brother.
So so then he was like, "Yeah, I really think you need to get in front of the right eyes and stuff like that." And I said, "Yeah, I appreciate it." And then less than a week later, I got a call from Canyon, and he was like, "Hey, we have an open spot in this tournament, blah blah blah." The whole spiel, which is funny because it was Canyon that gave me the speech about the
Of
tournament.
course it was.
He's the one that told me we're not going to hire you, but we want you for the tournament. Then I wasn't in it, and then he called me and he's like, "Hey, we're doing this tournament. You interested?" And I'm like, "Yeah, man." Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, exactly. So I went into it kind of being like, my mentality was kind of the mentality of like, all right, these guys already told me that I'm not working here, but like I'd be stupid to not try to make this
Yeah.
the best opportunity I could. So kind of just, my mentality going in was just like, all right, I got to figure out how do I get them to, want to use me and want to, all that stuff. And while we were doing the tournament, guys were getting pulled in rooms left and right, just like signing their deals and stuff. And I'm just like, oh, it was um, Gulak, Ali, and Davari who weren't getting offered anything. And we would just always be talking to each other like, damn, did you hear like friggin' the Bollywood boys just got a
What?
contract? Friggin', Noam Dar just got a contract. Like, the hell's going on with us? So like all that stuff. And then, after it was over, it was just over. And we're like, okay, so that's it. And the funny thing is, Rich Swan was the one, he like pulled me aside. He's like, hey man, he's like, don't worry, big things are gonna happen or whatever. And I was like, what does Rich Swan know? and then I think it was not shortly after the tournament aired, Stephanie McMahon made the announcement that cruiserweights were going to Raw. And I was like, oh man, that's why they signed all those guys. Good for them. They're so lucky. That's kind of just how I felt. And it was like a Friday before, I think they did. So they did that. Remember that four-way or whatever with Metalik? I think it was Kendrick,
Uh-huh.
Swan, and I forget who else. But I think it was to face TJP at the pay-per-view or whatever. And then I think Kendrick. But anyway, either way. Yeah, it was like a Friday before a Raw in Cincinnati. I get a text, hey, are you available for Raw? And like I used to get texts like that when they wanted me to do extra work.
Yeah.
But then I'm like looking, I'm like, and she's like, I'll send you your flight info, all this stuff. I'm like, no, they don't bring extras in like that.
Yeah.
They don't fly you in, they don't put you in a hotel, all this stuff. I was like, it's like, maybe I'm doing that cruiserweight thing. And lo and behold, I show up Monday. They're like, hey, you're on Raw with TJP. It's, you guys got 8 minutes or whatever it was. And I was like, oh crap, like, this is a big deal. And then after that, you do the match, and I got a good response and everything. And then it was kind of like you wait around, and you're like, all right, now what? And like it was Triple H, so I asked like, hey, like I hope you were happy with everything. He's like, yeah. He's like, just keep your Mondays open. He's like, we're just bringing in cruiserweights and stuff like that, and so just keep your Mondays open. And I was like, okay, I guess I'll keep my Mondays open. Like, yeah. But anyway, so that went on and then that was happening for me because I think the next week Davari ended up doing the match with TJP, and I ended up wrestling Rich Swann or whatever. So like we were all getting, and I kept after that they brought me in every week, and it was always like the Friday before that they would call me. And then after like a couple weeks of that, they were just like, hey, you're booked every week for this next month. And I'm like, okay. So then I was just going to Raw every week. I was still working a shoot job. I was still doing the indies. I was just all over the place with it, but it was really awesome. Like a cool experience. And then what was it around, I guess, when they finally, figured out how they were going to do 205 and present it and all this stuff, that's when they started. Then in October, they finally offered us our contract. So we were doing that from like the summer all the way to October, just
That's
every
crazy.
week going to Raw, asking them for a job, and them going like, not yet.
Yeah. You gotta love that. Like, I don't know. We're taking a look at things. I don't know. Yeah.
And the funny thing is, all the guys who got signed were at the PC, not going to Raw. So it was really weird. It was all the unsigned guys getting work and being on TV already, and then it was all the signed guys that were just sitting at the PC wondering, like, when are we going to get called up?
Well, you blow my mind so when you're talking about being at the Classic, and like I totally get that vibe, and it's kind of sucks to do that because the other guys can see like, oh, come over here and talk to us, like Hunter talking to this guy, and of course it was like Zack Sabre and Ibushi were there and stuff too. And there's all this attention, but I love how you name, you're like, it was me, Gulak, like Davari, Ali, who weren't getting any these guys who end up being like the absolute core of like the entire 205 Live brand for the next like 3 years, are the people who like didn't get any like time of day at the beginning of the Classic. It's just so funny how time and shit works. That's freaking wild.
So I mean, I don't know if I hate kind of, I guess, tooting my own horn, but every once in a while.
Toot.
But sorry if you hear that, it's my son causing chaos. But anyway, so I think one of the things that we were good at just saying like, yeah, I'll do it. Like when it comes to winning, and not winning, losing. Putting guys over and all that stuff. Like I think me, Davari, and Gulak were very always open to like, yeah, whatever, we'll put anyone over, we don't care. And so like that, we were always the names they thought of when they were like, all right, we need to give Cedric a good match, let's use one of these three guys because we know they'll do a good job, they're going to make him look good, and they're going to do whatever is told. So I think that's why we were always constantly getting like, we were pretty much taking up all the TV time for the cruiserweights.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure how many times have you called me losing? Right?
Hey, but I also got to call a lot of you winning. And wow, see, you're really good. You're good at this podcast thing, because that was my next transition. Because I was literally just looking over the footage because I was looking for myself, and getting sound clips and stuff. But I was going over the WrestleMania match with Buddy.
Okay.
And so, hey, you won, turns out. Look at that.
The funny thing is, so I'll always make the joke that I like lost my way somehow into. I think I won one match that whole year, or two matches that whole year to make it to Mania.
Was it really?
Yeah, because it was. I mean, I was still kind of doing my normal thing, and I was kind of Buddy's, like, I was the guy that would take the fall for him.
Right.
So I was pretty much his fall guy all the way up until they were like, all right, we're doing this tournament and we want to do you and Buddy, so now you got to win the tournament. So I was like, all right. So I just won the tournament and went to it. But before that, I was technically, if you were going to go by rankings and stuff, I shouldn't even sniff the tournament.
Yeah. Fair enough. But that's, hey, anything can happen in the World Wrestling Federation, folks. No, but like, so like, it's one of those things, because like I said, as I said at the beginning, like 205 Live, I think for a long time, it was this kind of this island unto itself. Like, do how much do they care? Like, how much of the spot, like, they did, again, I always say this, they put it on TV, they put it on the
Yeah.
program, so they do care in some way. If they didn't,
Yeah.
it wouldn't be featured at all. But it always seemed to be juggled around and everything like that. And so when it came time for like that WrestleMania thing, when you find that out, like, are you that kind of dug in with like 205 and stuff? Where like that, I'm trying to think of like, I don't want to sound like an asshole saying this, but like, where like that title, the cruiserweight title, really like meant something, or was it just kind of like a cool bump in the, a cool little, feather in your hat, or was it like, fuck yeah, I'm really happy to be at the top of this division, etc.
It was more of that. I think like personally, I carried 205 with a ton of pride. I loved the show. I loved everything about. I personally would put a lot of 205 main events up against a lot of other main events.
Hell yes.
All of them and everything. And I think everyone on that roster worked so hard. And yes, it's unfortunate that the platform we were on wasn't as large when it comes to, but we were still on a platform and it was still accessible. And believe it or not, we had we had a ton of international viewers. That's a big thing people don't understand is 205 was a regular show in countries that I believe what I heard was there's a couple countries where we're the only wrestling show on television there.
Did Regal tell you that?
So believe it or not, it was actually Pete Dunne told me
Okay.
that he did like a media tour and I can't remember the country he went to. And like, he's never done 205. And when he went to that country, the only questions they had for him were 205 questions, because that's the only wrestling they know.
Dude, Regal, so I asked Regal because he would often say that about like same thing with like main event or like it was Superstars at the time.
Yeah.
The TV deals and everything are so weird. He's like, so like Raw and SmackDown get like 30-minute chopped up versions at 1 a.m. in like South Africa. But 205 Live and main event are in like prime time over there because they're maybe I don't know if it's a different TV deal or whatever, but some of these different countries. He's like, Yoshitatsu was like a huge name one time when they got off the plane because he was always on like main event and stuff like that. So it's funny. Yeah. I'm like, just because like the American crowd, which we're inundated with all the time, doesn't always talk about XYZ. Yeah. There's all these international deals. That's so true. I always tell people that same thing.
Yeah. But so back to what you were saying though, like for finding out everything for Mania and everything. Yeah. Though that was like, it was like so amazing. And it's almost like I felt like at the time I was like, I don't even know if I'm reacting big enough for this right now, because like when things happen and it happens, you just kind of like it's all happening so fast and you're like, there's so much going on, and then you become so like I'm worried about my look, I'm worried about my performance, all that stuff that you forget about like what you're living in and everything. But I think if you watch it, like you can tell it all comes out the second I get the 1, 2, 3. Like you can see it in my face and everything. Like that was everything just finally coming together for me. Because also being in WWE, it ain't official until the 1, 2, 3. Because they could have changed that finish halfway through that match.
And it's been done before, folks.
So even when I was told I was, and which was not too long before the match, that I knew that, what the result was, that I still during the match was like not believing it yet. I was like, all right, when are they going to pull the rug here?
I'm waiting for the referee to tell me, like, never mind, kid, not today.
And I think even going into it, they were, in WWE fashion, you lose your time as you're going into the match. So I remember hearing like we lost some time or whatever, and I'm like, all right, good. That's less time for them to change it.
Oh, that's wow. See, that's a positive way of looking at it.
Yeah, right.
Good for you. And I mean, the cliche question. I mean, that WrestleMania was in New York. Was that extra special for you?
Yeah, and I think that was another reason. That was like one of my main reasons. I was like, man, they're gonna realize that I'm from here, and guys don't win where they're from. Especially WrestleMania titles. Like,
oh God, I can't. Yeah, don't let them know. Don't let them know.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, because even the fact that I was going to win the tournament was kept from me all the way through until the last. What was it? Me and Cedric, I think, had the last match, and we both didn't know until that morning, pretty much.
Yeah.
So the whole time I'm going through wondering, and I'm just thinking in my head like, okay, this story of me and Buddy could be really good. So I really hope that they latch on to that or whatever. I think personally that the story could have been done even. I think what did they give us, like 1 day before Mania to pretty much tell the story?
Well, because you did. I think it was like won the tournament, and so that's
Yeah,
when it realized, oh, now they're going to face each other. And then it was like one other night of TV where you did like one
yeah,
interview, and it was the show. It was like,
yeah, yeah,
God,
yeah,
yeah, easily you could have gotten weeks of story out of that.
yeah, definitely. And like I remember pitching a bunch of stuff, but it just kind of kept getting shot down. Unfortunately, uh, writing team isn't always on board to change things. Oh,
Yeah.
oh, sorry, we already have this idea written out for the next couple months. Like, what do you mean? You guys change the script the day of.
Every week, yeah. What are you
Now
telling me?
I'm telling you weeks in advance, and you're like, nah, it's too late. Yeah,
Sounds about right.
yeah. It was just that, hey, I don't really want to do that right now.
Yeah,
So, yeah,
more or less that. And I found that I think especially like the writing staff and everything, even like the head writers, and it's because 205 Live was in kind of like this different platform, and so like I think a lot of the time writers there like didn't want to push an like something that wasn't already like approved. They're worried
yeah,
about like, oh, I don't want to be the guy to push this and get told like, no, that's stupid, get out of here. Like they were afraid for their job and shit like that.
yeah, yeah. And a good story of that, and it's not my story, so I won't. I'll just give a brief version of it because it's Davari story. But I was involved, obviously. We had our match at Money in the Bank, and and it was we were being told like you guys are on the main show, you're not the kickoff and everything. So Davari's like, oh man, I want to get like a big like Del Rio style entrance and all that stuff.
Oh
So
yeah.
so he pitched to the writer. He's like, hey man, like I've been calling myself Davari Dinero. I got I my character has all this money and stuff. I think I should roll up. It's my first pay per view match. It's for a title. I should roll up in a car. And then his whole reasons, I think this would make it look. I think this would look good for 205. I think it'll look like the company actually cares about it. Like, oh, all these things that like will be perceived that way to the to certain fans. And yeah, the answer was like, oh no, 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 Vince, don't even bother asking Vince that. He wouldn't even, like it was like that was the type of response. Like, I'm not even gonna go to Vince with that idea. And Davari, good for him. He was like, you know what, screw you. I'm gonna ask him myself. So he just went, knocked on the door, went in Vince's office, and he was like, hey Vince, this is my character. This is what he does. We're gonna be on the show. And Vince was like, he's like, where is it? I think it was what, Hartford or whatever. And he's like, I think we can fit a car in that building. He's like, you know what? If as long as we can fit a car, you got it. And that was it. And then
Dude,
yeah,
yes, I remember hearing that story too. Yeah, I remember Davari telling me that story. And
yeah, and it's
that's the
just that you
crazy
got to
stuff.
ask.
Yeah. And no, but no, and usually that's why it would usually have to be like the wrestler to go do it. I'm like, you have this entire creative team, and I'm
Yeah,
giving you ideas, but they're like, everyone's so touchy about what to go and what not. So I'm like, you had to be the one to go.
yeah,
All they can do is say no. That always bugged me when people were afraid to even
exactly,
ask the
exactly.
question.
And I always thought it was weird that like the head writer of the show doesn't want to make the show good or put stock into the show.
Yeah,
Like whatever.
push, ask, like try it. Whatever you get told no, you get told, leave me alone and go away. Fine, that
Yeah,
shit like that happens, but at least try it. You know what I mean?
exactly.
But I mean, regardless, you guys made it a really cool place to be. You made it a really cool place for me to work. Like I talk all the time about when I made the transition to commentary, like Vic and Nigel made me feel really welcome on the desk. But you guys gave me such a great platform to tell your story where I didn't have to be there on a platform where I didn't have to like every 30 seconds be like, hey, and by the way, Pepsi Cola brings us this. That was one thing on the main roster. They're so loaded with all these little buzzwords they have to get in. We were
Yeah,
given the kind of freedom to talk about you guys, talk about the matches. And so you guys gave us so much material, and not only that, just incredible matches. So it was an absolute honor to be out there with you guys.
yeah.
And
I think I'm sorry. I
no,
was gonna say I think that's one of the plus about, and I think that's why like we all took so much pride in 205 is like because it was so hands off and it was just kind of us doing our thing. Like, yeah, we were told, the matches, what we have to do, all that stuff, but we had a lot. I think we had a lot more freedom than a lot other, than the main roster and everything, to where it was just go out there, and then we didn't have commercial breaks or anything. So it was great. It was just go out there. You got this much time and just kill it. Just make it good. And that's the good thing about 205. And I think that's why we took a lot of pride, is because a lot of, when it comes to the matches, like that was our work, and that was us doing what we wanted to do, which I thought was really cool.
Yeah, I mean, 100%. That was sometimes the advantage of, not everybody looking at you is, well, then I'm going to do whatever the hell I want kind of thing. And
Yeah.
you get that room to create a little bit more and stuff like that. And there was some pretty damn cool results.
Yep. Yeah, I remember when we moved to the when we switched over to NXT, and then we started filming with them. NXT's in the PC now and everything, and also kind of like NXT took over, like 205 is like now, right now they're a part of us or whatever. So for us, we were like, all right, we have new eyes watching us. We have, uh, you know, what we believed was like, all right, maybe they're going to watch us and they're going to see, they're going to want to build off of this, whatever it was. Like, obviously you always go into everything with high hopes. Um, and Same thing. Like we for a while, we were kind of wrestling a little more uptight because we were like, all right, they're watching us again. And then we started to kind of realize that no one was watching us. So then we just kind of went back to doing whatever we want. But then we were just having fun. I honestly, like, I'd say the whole time that we were doing it with, like, back to back with NXT, like I had some of the most fun because it was just freedom, and they luckily brought in some new names, so I was allowed to just go out there, and it was always, hey man, we got this new guy, I want you to show him the ropes, I want you to make him look good, all that stuff, and I had a lot of fun doing that, and I was kind of on a high going into, like, when I got the phone call of getting released. I was like, oh man, like I thought, like, like I was having so much
Shit
fun.
was
Just
going,
put
yeah.
guys over, make them look good. All right, give me the next guy. Sign someone and bring them to me. But I guess, I guess they didn't see that as financially good for them.
Well, they don't, yeah, and they don't see a lot of things. But so you kind of brought it there. How was what is it, the Capitol Wrestling Center? How did that compare to like the Thunderdome? How was the feeling different?
So I liked it better because it one, they had people there.
That's
Um,
right.
yeah, so that alone that's my favorite part of the show, is the people. So that alone made it way better to me. You actually had people to look. I look at me. I count my abs and I flex, and just to get a reaction from people, whether it's, oh my god, this guy, whatever it is. But doing that to video screens, you're not going to get. It's kind of weird. So you feel kind of awkward doing it. Whereas now I was able to do that, get reactions and everything. The only gripe I would say is the glass wall actually blocked a ton of sound, and
Sure.
right, because the glass wall was there even when Raw and SmackDown and everything were there. But yeah, that blocked so much sound that it was like really tough, because you'd see the people like that, and you can't even hear them. It was kind of weird.
Huh?
Yeah, exactly. But it was like we were halfway there. But I
Yeah.
definitely enjoyed that more than the Thunderdome. Thunderdome, I love, like, so we only did the Thunderdome a few times before they moved us over. But to us, it was atrocious every time.
Really?
I hated it. Yeah,
Yeah. Were they even like piping in sound at that point?
they were putting in like the little crowd noise in there for you, just so it's not, because it's in a big arena. So that's
Yeah.
another thing that made it weird. I feel like the bigger the arena, the more empty it feels. Even if
Yeah,
they have
100%.
nobody in them. So it just made it like really, really weird. Um, and I'm pretty sure the 205 fans on the screen weren't even real. I'm pretty sure they were just like tapings from the week before or something. I mean, don't quote me on that.
You're already quoted.
Yeah, exactly. That's gonna be all over, right? But yeah, that's just how it felt to us. Or if not that, probably like, because I feel like I would look out in the crowd and I would see like the same face like around thing, right? So it's kind of like, wait a minute, is this just like 10 people and they just like duplicated their face everywhere?
Oh my God, that'd be awesome.
Yeah.
That's ridiculous. That'd be great. That'd be great though. That, or I don't know if they had I think because I remember for a while they were actually. I think they had a hard time, like whatever, selling not tickets, but like the opportunity or whatever it was to do that.
Yeah,
It didn't like immediately sell out or anything. Like people were like, "I'll just watch it on TV. Why do I want to have to sit in front of my computer?"
yeah. It
If
was. I mean, good for them for figuring out something,
yes, for sure.
everything, and but yeah, it was it's definitely. I mean, me as like if I was just a fan, like I don't think I would do that at all. Like
Yeah,
it's just weird. I would rather just watch it on TV.
I'm with you.
Yeah, because like I think I mean the fan experience is doing it with other fans and being there, and I'm sure
Yeah,
really the people that they would get to do it is just people who wanted to see themselves on TV.
right.
At first, it was people who wanted to see what they could get on TV, and then like then the wall of do you ever hear of or see the wall of like things that they have to block? Like there's dudes that just
Oh yeah.
watch the screens and their job is to just make sure that stuff never makes it to TV. It's pretty crazy. And the list just gets bigger and bigger every time. So yeah. I'm sure the company is very pleased that this is over.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we all are. Well, let's drink to that. Let's go on. Let's finish our last sample here.
Hey, let me I'm gonna do a little cleaning here, but I'm not gonna step away this time.
All right, a little at seat rinsing.
What my yeah. I'm actually just toweling it
Okay.
instead so I don't get like so I don't have any excess water in there or nothing. There we go. Good as new. All
Bada
right, so
boom.
we're on to see.
The
What'd you
final
say?
frontier. I was
Uh,
the final frontier. The final sample.
All right. Oh, I mean, I forgot. When I got these in the mail,
Hmm.
I made a photo of them and sent it to Davari and Oni Lorkin. Like we have like a group chat, and I was like, "Yo, for some reason WWE sent me back my urine samples, and I had them going for a while." They were like, "What? Why? What the? Why would that even be a thing?"
Hey, we tested these. We don't need it anymore. Take your piss back.
And then it made me think. I was
Oh
like,
my
"Oh
god,
man." I was like,
you're
"If
really
Matt
dehydrated those days.
mess with me, if Matt really wanted to mess with someone, he could totally make like the last one like a urine sample and just
Oh, somebody smells it like, oh, it smells like
yeah.
no, no. That's how
Oh,
it's
try it,
supposed
try
to. Yeah, yeah. It's an acquired taste.
it.
Holy crap! I might do that. You just gave me a horrible
although
idea.
you'd be a very dehydrated person.
That's what I'm saying. Like crazy dehydrated. All right, same deal. Tell me what you're getting compared to the others.
So this one's probably the strongest.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm getting the most, like I'm feeling it more in my chest as I swallow.
Hmm.
Yeah. Um,
Spicier,
yeah.
sweeter.
No, this one's more got more spice to it.
Okay.
But it has more flavor. So I guess out of the three, I would say the first one had the least like flavor to it.
Okay.
Had just kind of like I don't know. It's hard to explain, but like the next one was kind of more sweet, and this one it has a little bit more like I'm tasting spices and stuff.
Okay.
Yeah. This one's good too, though.
Is it lighter? Is it more like viscous? Is it again? Does it cover the whole mouth? Does it go right to the back of the throat?
Um, this one covers them out
Okay.
easily. Yeah.
And they're like, again, like herbal flavors, spicy flavors, fruit flavors,
Mm.
caramel, chocolatey flavors. Anything ringing a bell there?
I'd say maybe like more like a caramel, like that plus like some spice.
Okay.
Trying to think of like what type of. Yeah, maybe like a cinnamony type of spice to it.
Okay. Yeah, like a
Yeah.
baking spice kind of
Yeah,
thing.
yeah.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So thoughts, kind of, as we finish that off of like 1, 2, and 3. If you had to put them in an order.
I would say two and three, then one.
2, 3, 1.
Yeah.
Okay.
Although it could also be a mood thing. Like I feel like this one would be if I'm in the mood for something a little bit strong, like a little more burn to it. So this would be like a
Sure.
good, more like cold weather type of one for me. Where-
Oh, okay. That's good.
Whereas the first one would be a little bit more of like it's lighter. It felt like to me.
So
So
for
I would
like
have that one. That one would be good for like I guess more warmer weather.
very, see,
Yeah.
act like you don't know. You know what you're talking about. It's very good. Those are very good notes.
I'm just reading the
Um,
script you gave me.
good, good. Um, no, that makes perfect sense, and some of it'll make even more sense as we do the reveal. So okay, so 1 or 3, excuse me, 2, 3, 1, right?
Yeah.
All right. So I will reveal it in reverse order then.
Okay.
So number 1 or letter A or whatever the frick, the first one you had, and by the way, I always try to do a theme. I don't know how many more themes I'm gonna be able to do, but with you, I was able to do this theme, and I'm
Right.
calling it New York State of Mind.
Oh,
These
all
are
right.
all whiskeys from New York State.
All right. Is
So
one Buffalo Terrace or whatever it is?
no,
Oh, okay.
no, it is not.
All
So the
right.
first one, least favorite, is called Ragtime Rye from New York Distilling. And this is I believe it is New York Distilling, right? I just want to make sure the company that's right. Yeah, New York Distilling Company. They're out of Brooklyn.
Okay. Yeah, that's.
So,
I feel like all whiskey will probably come out of Brooklyn.
well,
Uh,
there is a lot. I mean, there's Brooklyn
yeah.
Distilling and stuff like that. But not all of it. Actually, New York has a is trying to develop its own category of whiskey called Empire Rye. They want to
Okay.
be known. They want to be known for their rye whiskey, um, and they have some specific standards that like are different than the rest of the country and stuff like that. I don't know if it's actually been passed yet, if it's like an official designation, but so yeah, this is Ragtime Rye from New York Distilling out of Brooklyn, right in the heart of New York City. Small little place. This is actually the lightest of the whole bunch.
Okay.
This was only 90.4 proof.
All right.
This is 3 years old. It's a 3-year rye. Now, rye generally can age much more like versatilely than bourbon. Like it can be really good at young, at 2 years old, and it can be really good at like 15 years old. Whereas
Okay.
bourbon kind of has a sweet spot. But rye can kind of be good at any age, depending on what you make with it and everything like that. This one, I don't know if it tells me the actual grain recipe. It does not. I think somebody told me about it before. I'm sure I have it in an email somewhere. So I don't know exactly how much rye it is, but this is a rye whiskey, 3 years old, 90.4 proof from Brooklyn, New York.
And that was the lightest one you said.
That was, I mean, as far as alcohol content, that was the lowest proof.
I remember when I was like, oh, this one's real strong.
And also, I mean, it's your first one of the day or whatever,
Yeah.
first
Yeah.
sip. You don't have any of that kind of numbing effect of the alcohol yet, so that could be part of it too. So the next one is Hudson whiskey.
Oh, okay. That one
So
I've heard.
Hudson, you've probably seen they have a thing called baby bourbon that's
Mm.
been on a lot of shelves, but they recently rebranded with this like New York City
Yeah.
subway
Yeah.
style. That they're kind of go for more urban vibe, but they're still from upstate New York, the Hudson
Yeah.
Valley and everything.
I think it was an upstate bar in New York. I think we were doing like a show in Buffalo or something, and I had or maybe we were in I don't know where we were, but I remember having that at the bar because I do try to get like I'll ask for like a local one or whatever
Sure,
wherever we go. Whether it's beer or whiskey.
right. So yeah, this is another. This is rye. This isn't bourbon. This is rye, and now they rebranded, and of course they've got the cute little "Do the Rye Thing" is the name of the brand now. Ugh. A little bit. It's cute, but like, oh boy. Okay. This one's 46% ABV. So this
Yeah.
one is like 92 proof. And yeah, this I believe is also 3 years. Yes, this is a 3-year rye whiskey. I believe this is made with a sweet mash. So if you got more spice on this one and everything, and more a little
This
bit.
was number two, right?
3. This is number 3. This is the last one you had.
Oh, there's one. Okay, so there's this one right here. Okay.
Yeah. But I
Yeah.
believe this does have a higher rye mash bill. It also uses a sweet mash, which
Hmm.
is different than a lot of whiskey companies. Most whiskey companies use what we call a sour mash, which is where they basically use the leftover grain from the last cook and
Oh,
they put it into the new one to kind of help balance the pH. It kind of keeps things a little bit more mellow. Whereas sweet mash means you use fresh grain, all fresh grain every single time. There's no used grain at all. And so it kind of gives it this more grain forwardy kind of taste. So you get a little bit more of the spice. I get like mint and pine almost on this a little bit. Just like a little bit. Very almost like this would be good for like Christmassy cocktails, I feel like. Cinnamon was a good
yeah,
note that you picked up as well.
yeah, yeah.
So that was your number 2.
Yeah.
And your number 1, which was our number 2, was kind of a little bit of a curveball, is also Hudson, but this is their bourbon.
Oh, okay.
So Bright Lights Big Bourbon.
All right. So I'm more bourbon than rye, huh?
Generally, it would seem so, and you hit the nail on the head. Bourbon, generally speaking, compared to rye, is a little bit sweeter. It's higher in the corn, which is a much sweeter grain than rye. Rye is kind of a spicier floral grain. So this is still young too. Uses that sweet mash, so it gives a little bit of that grain character and stuff more forward than more typical bourbons. But this one is also 3-year bourbon, which for bourbon is a little young. Normally, you probably want it 4, 6 years, maybe 8 years in an ideal situation. But I thought it had some really interesting flavors and just shows off a little bit this whole thing here of what New York can do, and that not all whiskey, especially even bourbon, has to be made in Kentucky, ladies and gentlemen. So you got a little smorgasbord of New York homegrown
Yeah.
whiskey right there.
That was good. Yeah, I'm gonna have to look for these in local
Yeah, check them out. Try the Hudson will probably be more widely distributed
yeah.
compared to the
I have seen,
Ragtime.
yeah, I've seen Hudson around, and then
Yeah,
was it Ragtime?
it's
Ragtime.
Ragtime Rye by New York Distilling.
Okay.
Yeah, check them out if you had. I think that one would actually. This one I think would be really good for like you almost said, like summer cocktails for like
Yeah,
whiskey
yeah,
cocktails. That would be really good for like a night more light, refreshing cocktail. I think it would be really nice.
yeah.
And then yeah, before we wrap up, our Patreon members, patreon.com/wrestling with whiskey, get the exclusive opportunity to ask every one of our guests questions. They're the only ones, so the rest of you losers are left out unless you join our Patreon community. So rapid fire kind of questions here. So Eric Smith in the chat would want to know, what is your favorite snack cake or junk food?
Ooh, my favorite junk food? That's easy. That's ice. I mean, ice cream is junk food, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
To me, it's a meal. Um, but yeah, no, ice cream definitely would be my favorite. Every night, I usually eat about a pint of Ben and Jerry's. That's my go-to.
Every night?
Yeah, yeah, every night, pretty much.
Oh my God, you have ice cream like I have whiskey. Like
Yeah.
it's like, I have my glass every night. You have your pint.
Yeah, so believe it or not, it actually started when my wife got the first time she got pregnant. She would she always craved ice cream, and so she was always like, I want to, and then she would eat a whole pint, but she felt shitty about it, so she would always be like, so she was always like, if I eat a pint, like, you have to eat it too. And I was like, okay, all right, trying to stay in shape here, but okay. So it just happened. But you know what? Like, the good thing is, like, my diet was always just high calories, high calories, high calories, and it fit in. It honestly fit in with my macros perfectly fine. And then she ended up, she had the baby, all that stuff, and then now she's dieting, all this stuff, and I'm still just every day now. I'm just addicted.
Dude, you're gonna ruin so many like guys who want to go to the gym and be like, oh wait, Tony Nese eats a pint of ice cream every night. That's what I'm doing now.
Yeah, right. Yeah, there's a lot of people I've told that to, or that have heard that, and then like I'm like, not you though. Don't.
Not
do that.
everybody. Yeah, not everybody. Like, everybody can do that. Guy Taylor would like to know, and I'm not sure how. What was your favorite house show match? I know you guys got to do a couple.
Yeah. So, man, that's a tough one. I guess will we include the coconut shows as well? Would be a house show.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah. Because I did have one with Raul Mendoza once in Jacksonville that like yeah, that one was that it felt so good. It was a lot of fun. We actually made did we main event? I think we main evented the show. Or whatever. And that one I remember just being like a real solid, like, wow, this is really, and the crowd was just on fire the whole time.
Dude,
If I were,
was that in that Jacksonville Armory? That same one
yes,
that they always run? Yeah. That
yeah,
crowd was always actually pretty good.
yeah. We actually, I think that was the whole thing. Like, because normally they would bring me to those shows to work with the newer guys. So I'd always get in there with like guys who haven't even seen TV yet and stuff like that. But I guess because of the crowd at Jacksonville and everything, they're like, oh no, this crowd would way better benefit if we just did some like, you know, give them a nice cruiserweight match or whatever, or an indie style show or whatever. So we did that, and it was so much fun. And then I would say, besides that, what's a good one? Like on the road would be I did a loop once with Tozawa, and he's honestly one of my favorite opponents. Like the funny thing with me and him is we don't even need to talk to call a match. Like that's the one, like we just for some reason me and him just click perfectly. So like, well, yeah, I think the first day of the loop we were just kind of like this, that, yeah, okay, and that was it. And then those
It's the
3 days,
best.
and it just got better and better each day. And he is so awesome at just getting anyone into him. Like he comes out there and he just absorbs energy from the crowd and stuff, which is awesome. And so and when you get in there with a baby face that's like that, it becomes. I mean, it's the
It's a
easiest.
night off. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So those were a lot of fun. I would say from main roster, that was the best. On the coconut shows, I would say the Raul match.
Okay.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
but there's tons of close seconds.
As there always is. Dresden Nova would like to, he's a bit of a character over here in our community. He had a funny question. He goes, would you rather fight 10 swoggle-sized Brian Cages or one Brian Cage-sized Hornswoggle?
Ooh, man. I think one Brian Cage sized hornswoggle.
Hell of a match.
Because how many are there for the
10 Hornswoggle-sized Brian Cages. 10 the jacked little people.
Yeah, that's 10 guys trying to get their shit in. That's a lot, right?
That's true.
Yeah.
That's a lot of like moonsaults and super kicks.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and just lariats like crazy. Yeah, no. I'd rather just take it from one guy.
Okay, fair enough. Very well. There you go, Drez.
Speaking of Hornswoggle, I got to eliminate him in the Greatest Royal Rumble.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, that was a fun experience. But anyway, that was just a side note.
That's right. Hornswoggle, also former guest of the show. Shout out to Swoggle.
How much whiskey did he drink?
Not a ton, but he drank right out of those little shampoo bottles I was telling you about.
That's
like
great.
squirted it into his mouth. It's one of my favorite stories from this whole experience.
It sounds like
Victor would like to know, we talked a little bit about it, but what was your favorite match from the Cruiserweight Classic? Or was there anybody that you didn't work during that you would have wanted to?
Yeah, so I would say Ibushi would be the one there. And believe it or not, I was actually supposed to wrestle him.
Really?
Yeah, so I was told. The funny thing is, remember they were like, "Oh, do you don't mind being eliminated the first round?" And of course, yeah, whatever. But when I got there, they were like, "Oh, you're gonna go 3 rounds," and I was like, "Oh, hell yeah, this is awesome." And it was me and Anthony Bennett, and then and there was me and Brian Kendrick, and then it was supposed to be me and Ibushi. And then I don't know if you remember, they did that show leading up to the Cruiserweight Classic where they kind of you got to know everybody. Do you remember that?
Sure. Yeah. Brief, vaguely. Yeah.
Show or whatever. I think it was done with. I think Graves did it and stuff. But anyway, so in that show, Kendrick had like a story on there, and he has a crazy story of being there and getting released, a number of times. And this was kind of like his story was like, this is my last chance. So this whole thing, and it ended up being like the best story out of all of them that were aired on that episode. And so the next, so then we show up, for the next tapings, and it's me and Kendrick. And they originally told me that earlier that day, again, they were like, hey, just so you know, it's you over, blah, blah, blah. All right, cool. then me and Kendrick are just kind of hanging out at the PC talking because they would fly us in a day early and then we just have, a day to hang out with everyone and stuff. And just in case they do photos, interviews, all that stuff. Regal pulled me aside and he's like, hey, I just want to let you know I'm sorry, but like the story that Brian came out with, it was very, a lot of people had a good response to it, so they want to push him forward instead or whatever. I was like, whatever, man, I don't care. I'm already one round ahead than what I thought I was gonna
Yeah.
do. So then they ended up changing the finish of that match. So Brian went ahead to face Ibushi. But so that was one where I was like, the only thing that was like, it wasn't like, oh man, I have to lose. Like, I don't care about that. But I was like, oh man, I had my chance to wrestle him. And like, I feel like, just being able to, because I think Cedric ended up wrestling him after he went past Kendrick, or maybe it was before. Cedric might have wrestled him before that. And like, those are like when you're in there with a guy that good, like that sometimes becomes like career defining moments for certain people.
Sure.
Where it's like, oh wow, this person stood toe to toe with so and so, and all that stuff. So like for me, it was kind of like, all right, I've been studying and watching this guy for so long, and I feel like I can show that I can hang with him, all that stuff. And then unfortunately, it didn't happen, but that's it's fine. That's just how it is. So I would say out of all of them, that would be the guy.
Okay, absolutely fair enough.
Yeah.
And finally, the last question comes from Jay, aka Whiskey Heaven. What's going on, Jay? He said, if you had your own whiskey club, what would it be called?
I guess we'd have to throw Premier in there, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's yours.
I mean, the simple answer would be what? The Premier Whiskey Club, right?
Sure.
But we got to get more creative than that. Oh man. Is there a good like term for a whiskey drinker or whatever, or I don't know.
That like, there's connoisseurs, there's
Yeah,
enthusiasts, I'm thinking like premier pours.
yeah. I like Premier Whiskey Enthusiasts.
Premier whiskey enthusiasts.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's a good one.
Sounds like an indie. PWE.
Yeah, PWE. Yeah, exactly.
PWE.
As long as the letters are channelable, right?
Yeah.
PWE.
WE. PWE. 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 All right, you heard it here, folks. So if he starts doing his own podcast,
Yeah.
this is where the birthplace happened.
Which I always thought it was funny that WWE is a little bit easier, but WWF, most popular company, you can't even chant it.
Yeah, right. That's true.
It's awkward.
Very much so. Good point.
Yeah.
Well, before we go, obviously, yeah, the world is opening up. You're going to be able to be God freaking everywhere, and I know it's going to blow up. So, I mean, where can people find you in the meantime, whether it's, booking stuff you're doing on the side, all that usual podcast mumbo jumbo, let everybody know.
So out of bookings that I can announce, there's really only like, I think one wrestling booking right now that I've been announced for, and it's the Tracy Smothers, memorial so I'm in that, which is awesome. That's going to be in November, in Tennessee. I want to say the second week in November, but I'm not good. I'd have to look at my calendar.
Okay.
But I've been retweeting it and everything on Twitter. And then as it gets closer, I'll be putting it over and everything. And then I believe I have a signing so what is it? Like November, the first weekend of November, I have a signing in New Jersey. I'll be I believe it might be called the Big Event.
But, sure. Yep. Big Event. Absolutely.
Yeah, I know I've been talking with the Big Event. That might have been it, but it's crazy. So, and I wasn't even expecting this, but yeah, man, it's like the second it got announced that I was released, man, I just started getting email after email after email. It's pretty crazy, but like it felt good in a way. It kind of gave like you're like, oh shit at first, but then I was like, okay, all right, good. Like people want me still,
Yeah.
So it felt good. So I do have like an overwhelming amount, and I'm not even emphasizing it. I just have all these emails that I've been going back and forth with people, and because it's something I haven't done in so long. I mean, honestly, before WWE, I had my set companies that I always worked with, so like I wasn't always just kind of back and forth with all these promoters and stuff. So this is kind of like pretty new to me. So yeah, I have so many things coming up. So I'll definitely be putting talking about them more as it gets closer on my Twitter. But yeah, my Twitter is at Tony Nese. Pretty simple. My Instagram's at Tony Nese. And my Twitch channel now that I've started, I've done 2 streams now, playing some games. It's Tony Nese PA, which stands for Premier Athlete, not Pennsylvania. So many people have been like, "Oh, you're from Pennsylvania."
Me too. That was my. I didn't.
Hey, that was you. That's right.
Yeah, you followed. I was on stream and you jumped in for a second, and I was like, because often on Twitch there's a lot of like wrestling fans, and some people will like take their favorite wrestlers' names and stuff and be like, Randy Orton fan, or there's like it'll be like Matt Hardy 6425, and I'm like, okay, Matt Hardy's not hanging out in my chat right now. I know it. So like I saw Tony Nese PA, and I'm like, is this like a Tony Nese fan from Pennsylvania? Or I'm like, I saw that he joined Twitch. I don't know if it's him. And then people are like, yeah, it's him. Yeah. And you told me you were on the treadmill, and I was like, yep, all right, cool.
I don't do the treadmill. Come on, I was on the bike.
Oh, bikes.
Yeah, the assault bike. But yeah, hell no. Yeah, you'll never find me running. I'll tell you that, unless it's in the ring.
Yeah, unless between the ropes.
Yeah. But anyway, so yeah, so I've been like creeping on a bunch of guys' Twitch channels because I want to make sure that when I jump on this, I'm not just kind of lost doing it, and I like to kind of see what you guys are doing, how you're interacting. So I've been kind of creeping on people. I've been creeping on you, Adam Cole, and stuff.
There you go.
Yeah, and then I ended up, I just a couple days ago I started doing it, and then you start to realize like it's kind of like it's just you being you, and there's really no like rhyme or reason to it. It's just, if someone's a fan of you or if someone wants to hang out and watch you play video games and chat with you and everything, like just be you. The worst thing you can do is try to just mimic or be someone else. So
absolutely,
one thing I learned. But and then I end up just kind of it's funny too because I'll put it on and then I'm just like, all right, let me just see what they're doing, and then I end up watching it for like a really long time, and I'm like, this is actually kind of fun.
You kind of get why it blew up and everything. You're like, oh yeah. I did the same thing. Like I found 1 or 2, even outside of wrestling, I found 1 or 2 streamers where I was like, yeah, I'll give this a try. But I'm like, I don't really get it as a fan. But then I did it. I was like, oh, I kind of get it. You're like, it's like you're hanging out all day. Like I would even be working on stuff on my computer, but just in the background, I would have a stream on for 3-4 hours sometimes.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah. So everybody, you have to check him out there. Check him out all over the place. And you're going to be seeing him in person. I hope I run into you maybe at one of these indie events and stuff too. Hopefully we'll cross paths.
I'm sure of it. I keep seeing like posters with you guys on it, but it's always dates that I'm not free because I'm always like, oh man, look at that roster. Like I'm going to try to get on that show. But then I like look at it and I'm like, oh, I'm not free yet. So yeah.
We will.
Hopefully soon.
We absolutely will. But until then, everybody, make sure you check out Tony everywhere. Always, as I say all the time, be trying new things, trying new flavors, trying whiskeys, not just from Kentucky and stuff, from all over the U.S. and all over the world. And always, always, always be wrestling with whiskey. Until the next time, for myself and the Premier Athlete, have a good one and cheers.
Thank you.